All right, so where we left off on the last one, when we were looking at Article 2, the presidency, we were looking at this election of 1960. And so one of the things about the election is I showed you that there was only a 100,000 vote difference. When you look at that, that's not an overwhelming amount of people who voted for Kennedy versus Nixon. It's not like a huge majority. But when you look at electoral college votes, Kennedy won the electoral college. Every state has so many House members and senators. So, like North Carolina, we have 13 House of Representative members, and we have 2 senators. So we have 15 electoral college votes. So when we vote in the electoral college, and it's not you and me, it's the people that we elected to do that, those people are going to determine, okay, well, the state of North Carolina voted the Democrat Party, or the state of North Carolina voted the Republican Party, and they're going to cast their votes. So you have to have 270 of the possible votes out there in the electoral college. There's 535 out there. And once you get the 270, you have hit the majority, and so you get to be the president. So Kennedy won the Electoral College, and he did win the popular vote. He just didn't do a slam dunk on popular vote. And I mean, like, if you compare Kennedy to the Byrd, oh yeah, it's a hands down victory. But if you're comparing Kennedy to the Nixon, it's not that much of a vote difference, okay? So let me show you the Electoral College map, and then I'm going to go back to these like other elections so that you can kind of understand like the political parties and how this kind of works. All right, so this is the projected, as of March 9th, 2020, what the election of 2020 might look like. So it's a really good website. I've showed you in class the 270 to win it. If you go to the website, you can play around with stuff. You can see different elections, and so it's a really good site to use. But the states that are dark red are being polled and surveyed, and using their history of that state, they tend to vote Republican. So if for the last 5-6 elections they've always voted Republican, it kind of looks like they're probably going to vote Republican again. Same thing with the Democrat ones. So the ones that are the dark blue, they tend to vote Democrat, like years and years of them voting this way. When you survey, you poll the people in those states, it seems like they're going to vote for the Democrat Party. I mean, that's why they're dark blue. It could all change, okay? So this is just a projection. The states that are the lighter colors, okay, it means that the Democrats or the Republicans don't have as strong of a hold there as maybe they do in those other color states. Sorry, guys. It just keeps doing this. All right. So, like in these states right here, Colorado and New Mexico, the Democrat Party has a whole, like they have it, but it's not as sure as like the state of California. Same thing like with the Republicans in Texas. Like Texas is predominantly a Republican state. But it has changed over the years based on people moving in the United States. You have a lot of people who have moved from these states down into the southern states. So a lot of these areas, they've started moving. And that has changed the voter makeup. And therefore, it's changing how elections are actually going in some of the states. So Texas has had a lot of people from outside of Texas moving into it, and it has kind of changed the Republican stronghold that has been Texas. So the Republicans still have a good chance of winning Texas, but not as good as they had maybe in the years past. Same thing with these lighter, like pinky kind. The Republicans have an advantage there, but it looks like they might lose the state. So if you're campaigning, and you're a Republican, you're going to want to hit those states. I'm sorry. You're definitely going to want to hit those states because those are states that might switch to the other side. Same thing with these very, very light blue states. These are states that might not go towards the Democrat Party. They might actually flip and go to the Republican Party. Now, this nice brown color, these are toss-up states. And you can see, like, North Carolina is one of them. What it kind of means is these are your swing states. These are states that you really can't predict where people are actually going to vote. So, in this election, you better believe that the candidates are going to be coming a lot to these brown states because those are states that might not vote the way that you really can't predict them. Okay, so you're going to see a lot of candidates coming in these areas, and they're going to come because they're going to try and win those states, because that right now could determine who's going to be the next president. So you're looking at about 204 for the Republicans right now is what they're thinking, and they're thinking Democrats 232. So you've got 102 electoral college votes that are in the brown that are toss-up states. So they're going to go to them. And they're probably going to go to the states that have the bigger numbers, like Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Florida. Those are states that have larger electoral college votes in numbers. So Pennsylvania's got 20, North Carolina's got 15, Florida's got 29. You're definitely going to hit those states because if you got that 29, that 15, and that 20, that's a good portion of this amount, and it could push you over to the 270 mark. Okay. All right, so let's go back to the previous slide, and we're going to look at our elections again. So in the election of 1912, you see you got a lot more people here running. You've got a Democrat, a Republican, you got a progressive political party, and a socialist political party. The election of 1912 is one of those times when we're doing a lot of things that are different in the country. So we're in the progressive era. So you might remember this from your American 2 class. So you have a current president, and that's why I've got an I there. That's the incumbent, William Howard Taft. He has won the Republican nomination. So, I mean, he's the sitting president. It's odd for a political party to go against someone who's already won the White House once. They normally are going to side with that person again. Theodore Roosevelt is a former president, and he would like to run again. So he's actually trying to go for a third term. Remember, back then, they don't have the 25th Amendment, so he can. So he is upset with his Republican friend, Taft, and so he's going to compete against him. But when you look at Roosevelt and you look at Taft, they're both really Republican people, and they have Republican beliefs. They're the same. But when you go and vote and you're a Republican, you are voting based on more personality than maybe issues. And so when the Republican Party was voting, they kind of had a choice between two kind of candidates. And they chose the guy who was the former president, not the current president. And then you got this Democrat who kind of came out of nowhere, Woodrow Wilson, who becomes the president because look at how many electoral college votes he won. The importance of the election of 1912 is the effects of a party being split. The Republican Party was very split in this election. And not only were they split, you have a third party coming in because the Progressives is considered a third party. So that third party came into the election competing against the Democrat, competing against the Republican parties, the two political parties that we have. And this progressive just, he took out a lot of the main party's votes. But if you look at the popular vote, President Woodrow Wilson, he got 6.2 million. Roosevelt got 4.1 million. And then Taft got, you might as well say, 3.5 million. So when you look at that and you combine those numbers, if they hadn't split, Roosevelt or Taft, whoever would have been the Republican candidate, would have actually had over 7 million popular votes, and this electoral college might have turned out very different. But at the end of the day, when a party is split, they do hurt themselves because candidates have a hard time going towards their main voters and getting their voters to vote for them when the voters suddenly have a couple of choices in an election. And it shows the effects of a third party. The election of 1876, I mean, this is that one that you guys studied in American history too, and you studied the Compromise of 1877 with it. So you got Hayes versus Tilden. The Civil War is over. We're in Reconstruction period. The nation's still very, very divided after Reconstruction. And so you've got a Republican, Lincoln's political party, running against pretty much Southern-backed Democrat Party at the time. And so Hayes and Tilden didn't win the Electoral College. You have to have the majority of the Electoral College votes. And Hayes is only winning the Electoral College with one vote. That's not a majority. And Hayes didn't even get the popular vote. So when there's no clear winner in the Electoral College, the House of Representatives is going to make the decision on who's going to be the president. So the people have voted. They did that in the general election. The Electoral College is now voted. And so 2 times we haven't determined who's the clear winner of the presidency. So our House of Representatives will determine it. And they chose Hayes, the Republican, to be president. And that's how they come up with that compromise of 1877. So that's that backroom kind of deal that was made. But at the end of the day, when you're looking at these elections, they were pretty close on some of them, like with popular vote. But remember, take out the popular vote, just block it out of your view. When you look at the Electoral College vote, it's that determines the presidency. And when it doesn't determine the presidency, when it can't, the House of Representatives is going to make the deciding factor.